Welcome to DoMagettiIELTS.com IELTS Task 1 Writing Lessons. Today we are going to continue by looking at how to group data when writing dynamic sentences. As you can see, we've still got the same table and bar chart. So, talking about grouping data. Grouping data is a part of the planning of the essay. You need to decide how you're going to group the information because you're going to have at least 2 paragraphs of information, body paragraphs that is, and the information is often presented in a way that you need to break it down to be able to summarize it. So grouping is important. Okay, you need to decide how you're going to put the data into groups so you can organize your information. One of the task achievement criteria is for the essay to be easy to read and follow. This depends on how you organize the information. So for dynamic data, and as we know, dynamic data talks about time-based data. The rule of thumb is, how many groups are there? How varied is the data? Is the data all of the same type? Of course, look at the groups. So for dynamic data, we look at how much movement there is and follow the greatest movement, least movement, trends, similarities in movement, differences in movement. Those are the 5 things that will be enough or should be enough for most of these types of essays. Okay, those of you who have watched the other videos, you will know that this is the bar chart that I used in the title, writing and paraphrasing. Really, that's just to get you comfortable. I don't want you to watch this series and me keep changing the videos. Although the graphs and charts, although the information is different, I think it's better for you to just get comfortable with a certain format and then adapt it to other things. Okay, one thing I have to stress is there is no one particular way for you to group data. I'm sure other teachers will have told you this. You do it in a way that makes it presentable and makes it easy to follow. That's your purpose. So some people may do it one way, other people may do it in a different way. So here, looking at this information here, the groups are male, female, part-time, full-time, time, and thousands. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you want to call it, 6 different groups or 6 different ways that we could group the data, or we could use for grouping the data, sorry. So look at the chart. We could group male part-time here, male full-time here, female full-time, oops, here, female part-time here, increases here, 1, 2, 3, decreases 1, part-time this, full-time this. So you've got plenty of choice. For a graph like this, you have plenty of choice. So there's 7 possibilities that we could use. My advice, and probably many other teachers' advice, would be only go with a few. 3 or 4 is average. 2 to 3 depending on what the information is. For example, for some line graphs, you may only get 2 lines. So therefore, there will only be 2 groups. So you can only really base your group numbers on what is on the graph. So until you see the graph, you don't know. Okay, so 3 or 4 groups is enough, as these will be the main data groups. Remember, we're summarizing, the main data, not all of it. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to write about males and females, full and part-time. I think that's probably the best way, easiest way to write about it. Now, because part-time education has the highest numbers, it seems more logical to start with this, largest. We'll compare male and female numbers and the trends for both. We will then look at full-time and do the same. We will also include some comparisons. Remember the instruction on every task 1 essay? Make comparisons where possible. So you should make comparisons because everything can be compared. So we've got the grouping we're going to use. We're going to use dynamic language, which talks about rise and fall, up and down, same thing, and primarily uses adjective, noun, verb, adverb forms for your changes. We will also see examples of comparative language, comparing things. So examples of dynamic sentences include the adjective noun. A, steady fall. A fall is a noun, steady is the adjective. Verb, adverb. If it's past tense, the verb will be past, ed. Verb, adverb. There are some others, but these are the main 2. We also need to introduce each paragraph with a discourse marker. As the name suggests, it's a marker to tell the examiner what follows. Always use them in your essay. So, beginning the first body paragraph after our overview, of course, we would be using dynamic data and comparative data, which I have color-coded. With regard to, or regarding, to begin with, any one of those 3 tells us this is the first thing, this is what I'm going to talk about. You don't have to say firstly, but you can. But I'm going to follow that with my topic. With regard to part-time education, regarding part-time education, to begin with, part-time education, so to begin with, comma, part-time education. This introduction tells the examiner what is going to follow. Information about part-time education. And again, I've put a word count there, just for useful information. Then we have a starting point for the data. So this information here will go before your statistical information. So let me give you a quick example. With regard to part-time education, male student numbers commenced, began, started, etc. So this you can either put in a linking word to make it one sentence, or you can just have this as a complete sentence and begin a new sentence here, as long as it's clear. Male students' numbers commenced, began, started at 1 million in 1970 to 71 and steadily decreased to about 850,000 in 1980 to 1981. Okay, so let's go back quickly. They began at about 1 million and decreased to roughly 850,000. We're not sure, so we round it up. This was followed by a slight increase to end in 1990 to 91 in the region of 900,000. Okay, so we go back. So this was followed by a slight increase. So we've got 850,000. This was followed by a slight increase to end, because 1991, that's the end, round about 900,000. We're not sure, so we estimate or round it up to the number we think it is. Okay. 33 words, so giving you an idea. These are things hopefully will just help you be aware of the word count and how big certain paragraphs are. The pattern for females shows an opposite trend. So this sentence tells me that I'm going to talk about females, and the information is going to be the opposite to what I've just told you. They started at just above 700,000 in 1970 to 71. So here, instead of writing the numbers, I've written it as words. This just changes it a little bit. This increased gradually to 1980 to about 820,000. A sharp jump followed, and the final number was in the region of 1 million in 1990 to 91. So just quickly, this shows our increase. Okay, so we've talked about part-time education, we've talked about males, and then we've talked about females. Now we're going to continue the essay. We're going to begin to talk about full-time data. Second body paragraph. With reference to full-time students, or with reference to full-time students. Students' figures in this sector follow a similar trend for both groups. Comparative language. So what I'm saying is, what you will see is that the figures are going to be very similar. Females, so we began with females, that slightly lower than males at less than 100,000, but increased more. The reason I put that in comparative, because more. Increased more between 1970 and 1980. Both groups finished, verb, with the same comparative numbers of just above 200,000. So because full-time data is less variable and follows more of a set pattern than part-time data, we don't have to write so much about it. Okay, so you've seen how we've written and contained our information in groups. Now, there are different ways to write your information. There is no one special way. Everyone sees data in different ways, but if you want a fixed way, then you can follow these examples. So these are basically discourse markers to begin and end information. So we could say, to begin with, student numbers, or at the start of the time period, or the number of male students began at, and then followed by the number. Female student attendance commenced at, and something started at. So you can either use to begin with at the beginning, or you can use your topic to introduce the sentence and then follow it with these. And it's the same for ending. Yes. Ending you could make a sentence at the end of the period, the numbers were this. But it's more general to actually finish the sentence using these. So male student numbers finished in 1971, finished at 20,000. Or male students ended at 50,000. To finally finish at, then there's a number. Remember, at means a number, in means a time. In 2001, in 2002. At is always followed by a number, not a year or a time. Okay, examples to follow. Here are some sentences. Male student numbers commenced at around 1 million in part-time studies. The period started with male student attendance numbers of around 1 million students. Female full-time numbers finished in 1990-91 at around 200,000. So remember, in for your year, at for your number or data. The number of female part-time students at the end of the period was approximately 1.2 million. So these are enough expressions for you to use to practice. Remember, you'll be applying this to lots of different essays that you practice. The structure is the most important thing. How you group the information and then how you write that information are both crucial to your score. I could give you more topics, but I'm not going to overload you. You shouldn't overload yourself, because if you have 4 or 5 different ways to do something, it's too much to remember. Settle on a few ways to do something and practice those things until you're comfortable. And as I've just mentioned, practice the sentences until you feel comfortable doing them. Your grammar must be accurate and the information also accurate to stand a chance of getting a good score. Yes. There will be homework provided for this lesson. I'll put the link in the video so you can go look for some worksheets on the links and use them to practice. So thank you. Please subscribe to our channel. Please book our online courses, which will hopefully by now should be available. If not, keep your eyes open on our website. Or keep your eyes open on YouTube channel for announcements for more, when we get more information about the launch of the courses, then we'll keep you up to date with that information. And once again, thank you.